Welcome back, and today I've actually got some good news for you. Right, here's the deal. Space Marine 2 is actually out there doing some good. The game itself looks fantastic, absolutely, to my interests, but on the monetization side, it does appear that they're doing good things. Of course, we're going to fully look into it, look behind the headlines to see exactly how that is going to work. It's a good story, though. And then we've got a quick hop into Poland, because CD Projekt Red have actually left Cyberpunk 2077 behind. They have zero development staff working on the game. What I think is more interesting, though, is we actually have got a breakdown of where their 627 developers actually are, what games, what projects they're allocated on, which I think is pretty fun to look into. Now, I ask for just a second or two. This is very quick. So if you're not subscribed, I would appreciate it a lot if you went and you clicked the like and the subscribe button, and I'll explain why. So that gives YouTube a good signal, okay? And when that happens, it means whenever people hit the F5 key on the YouTube homepage, there's a better chance of our content showing up. Honestly, I mean, you've probably seen the homepage. It's full of playables. It's full of shorts. It's pretty rough for us long-form people. Another thing is our CPMs are literally down 25% year over year for this month. Things are a little bit rough, so it is actually very appreciated. And with that said, let's get to the far more fun thing, the Space Marines. Okay, Space Marine 2, right. Space Marine, for me, was a special game. Absolutely, I will concede. It is like a 7 out of 10 AA game, but for me, it may as well have been a 10. It is exactly what I wanted. In an era where it was all third-person cover shooters, this was a very different one. You did not go into cover. I mean, some of the things they were doing here later, Doom 2016 would fully pick those up, with the idea of aggression basically being the way to survive. So yes, an era where games had bolted on multiplayer, and of course where there was lots of DLC. And that meant paid map packs, modes, costumes, that kind of thing, which ultimately would just split the player base. That of course ends up damaging a game before, eventually, an anniversary edition happens where you can pick up all of the good stuff for far less money. Pretty special game. Now though, it's got a sequel. It's one of those rare times where we all wish there would be a sequel to a game, but this time it's actually happened. We had a recent announcement that the 3-player co-op will extend from the campaign to an ongoing PvE operations mode, as well as the return of the 6v6 multiplayer. This is all pretty damn cool. I mean, this is made by the developers who did the recent World War Z game, and while that's maybe not the biggest IP in the world, because the movie was pretty mid, what it did have was fast zombies in absolutely humongous crowds, and that crowd technology is being applied to Tyranids. That alone is very exciting. Multiplayer honestly looks pretty damn good here. I mean, come on, you can be a Space Marine squad with your friends and fight Tyranids. That is absolutely peak. And that 6v6 multiplayer actually could be pretty damn good. Of course, though, all of this makes us think, how could this be monetized in the modern day? I mean, it's 40k. Are we going to have individual, Marine chapters there as, I don't know, skins that you earn, skins that you paid for? What's it going to be like? Will there be chapter-approved scenario packs? What's going to happen? And the answer is, well, not that much that is super modern. Focus have actually confirmed that everything gameplay related will be free, and the only cosmetics, and this I think is the really big break, they will be outside the game. Right? So if you want to buy a pack of cosmetics, you will do that on the Steam store. There is zero in-game cash shop. And that is actually pretty damn big news, because, the second that there is a cash shop, I think that does just sort of fundamentally change a little bit of what the player's relationship with a game is. So that, I'm very happy about it. Of course, this does not mean that there will be no post-launch monetization. It just means that that will be specifically targeted stuff. So we actually have got a little bit more info here. Focus Prime Manager Sylvian Leroux noted that plans are in place for purely cosmetic season passes that will be delivered in several phases. He also confirmed everything you get in the passes is purely cosmetic. All of the gameplay additions, whether it's new missions or new enemies, all of that will come for free to players. So that absolutely does sound good. Free gameplay, but yes, plans for season passes in the game, and those will feature cosmetics. Now, the overall format, it's not 100% clear, but what we can do is we can take a look at World War Z, and I've got to say, World War Z's whole monetization model, it actually does take a bit of time to wrap your head around. Essentially, right, World War Z had a shitload of free content. Like, actually, that is a really well-supported game. It's well-supported even right now. Like, actually, seriously, I was really impressed how good of a job they've done. Now, it did have some paid gameplay content, but for the most part, it does seem to have been monetized by sort of different editions. As an example, the Aftermath edition that's got FPS and a few other things. But essentially what you were having was seasons of free content, and alongside that there would be paid cosmetic DLC and that kind of thing. Now, what we can at least do for Warhammer then is we can think about that and take a look at what they've already announced for the bundle purchases. So here's the deal. There are 3 editions: regular, gold, and ultra. So they all come with a pre-order bonus DLC, but then one of the lovely things of modern gaming that's basically flipping everywhere now is, it's the 4-day early access. So that's only for the gold edition and up. Of course, this is a game where you can play the campaign in co-op, and of course there is a full, co-op suite of features, right? So obviously, maybe it's the weekend, whatever time it is, your friends are playing this game, you're just going to be sitting there hovering over the buy button in Steam. That's the entire plan. Gold and above comes with a season pass, and then the Ultramarines Champion Pack is only there for the most expensive edition. So basically, it's the total industry standard, and the most expensive edition is only getting a seemingly a DLC like cosmetic pack. So while there are some industry standard things like the early access, big picture, this is very much a traditional looking game, and I suppose World War Z was kind of like that as well. Right, no in-game cosmetic shop, and that seems to mean no sort of premium currency or anything like that. It also does not appear that they're doing a battle pass. This just seems to be a straight up old school season pass, where the season pass just gets you a whole bunch of DLC bundled together for a lower price, with of course the downside being that, well, you sort of buy it up front when you don't really know if all of that DLC is going to be something that you want. So, fairly interesting. I mean, is this no microtransactions? I mean, it's no microtransactions within SpaceMarine2.exe. And actually, for some people, that doesn't matter, because there are still, transactions you can make that are micro of scale. But actually, I think it does matter a lot, because whenever you boot into a game and you see store, that just kind of changes things a bit. And it's nice that a game is coming out in the modern day without that. Now, I do need to properly dive into stuff with World War Z, but it does seem that World War Z has actually got by. It's been a very successful game. Take a look at it in Steam. It's got very high ratings, lots of players. That seems to have went down really well without them having to resort to loads of bullshit. And what this means is more akin to what the previous game had, like $2.99 for this Legion of the Damned Space Marine skin. I think that's something we can really live with. So are there microtransactions? Yes, but is this basically not the industry standard? Yeah. Absolutely. That is really, really, really nice. So it's a big win, and the player reactions, I think, do teach us a bit of a lesson. As an example, take a look at Deep Rock Galactic. That's a game that does not have an in-game cash shop and, premium currencies and all of that. Now, it does have cosmetic-only supporter packs and cosmetic bundles, right? Those do exist, but it's interesting. Are those technically microtransactions of a form? Yes, they are, but they're not really considered to be MTX in the way that people think of other big live service games. And ultimately, I think it's just the sense of nickel and diming, of the store sitting there, of seeing all of the eye-roll worthy tactics, like selling you bundles of currency that are, maybe just not quite enough for the thing that you want, or far too much for what you want, all of those normal things that we're so goddamn tired of. And before I move on to the next story, there is actually some other good news here. So, this game was delayed by a year. Right? And it's always good when you see a proper delay like that, rather than just a 1 or a 2 month delay. Those tend to just be infinite death march, whereas here it seems they've actually had time. What they've said, right, is that they are just straight up fixing issues now, and it's currently months before they need to pass certification. That does seem to be good, and they explain this in a community update. I'll just give you the quote here. We'd like to share more insight about where we're at. As you can guess, the content of the game has been locked for a while now, and we're in the final stages of game production. Most of our efforts are currently focused on polishing and debugging to pass the final certification steps. We want to deliver the cleanest possible experience at launch, and the team is fully focused on it. So big picture, we're getting a sequel to a 2011 game that seems to have more features. It's by a team who have already made an extremely impressive game that was very well supported for years and years and years, and it's not full of bullshit. Like, usually when the thing that we want happens, the monkey's paw curls and some ghastly bollocks happens, but here it does seem it's free of bollocks, and that's pretty good. Now, a game that very much was not free of bollocks was Cyberpunk 2077. It was an utterly bollocked game. Now, though, it's not. Now it pretty much stands as one of the, I mean, some would certainly say one of the all-time great RPGs. It is certainly an extremely impressive experience, and it is a testament to the fundamentals that exist at that studio that Phantom Liberty ended up being as good as it was. And now, as of April 2024, the 8-year-long dev cycle of it has ended, and they've confirmed that all developers are now onto other projects like The Witcher 4 and the sequel, of course, to Cyberpunk. And we can see that in the form of their big breakdown here. So, as of February 29th, 2024, they had 17 Cyberpunk people, and now they have absolutely none. The lion's share of their headcount, 407 developers, are currently working on the next Witcher project. We can then see what's going on with the other projects. So 407 people on Polaris, which is their next big title, the Witcher game, essentially. Then we got some in Orion, some in Sirius, some on Hadar, and then shared services and other projects. They've also increased their headcount by 3 people. Overall then, pretty cool. And the idea of them doing like super big, I mean, look, what they did with Witcher 3 was absolutely incredible. Man, I cannot wait for Witcher 4, and to be honest, after Netflix have had their way with Witcher, I'll be very glad for some good things to happen around that franchise. Well, good things in a creative level, at least. Now, to move back to Cyberpunk, they have actually hit a pretty damn incredible milestone. On Steam, their recent reviews are overwhelmingly positive, 95%. That is absurdly high, and you can actually see that their overall ratings are very positive. Now, their launch was so bad that to climb your way back up to very positive, honestly, that is the sort of thing that barely ever happens in the industry. They should be extremely proud of themselves. That's kind of insane. Anyway, pretty good stuff. Here's the thing from their investor report, actually, that visualizes things. I think this is really fun. This is showing them moving from 78 all the way up to 95. Pretty impressive, and it shows that on Steam, just with how the numbers work, it is kind of exponentially harder and harder to increase your sentiment to the point where you're hitting something like 95. To get near to 95, just think about what the ratio ends up being to actually move the needle there. It really is crazy. Anyway, I've mentioned the monkey's paw enough times in this episode that I may as well just do it once more, because one of the things I was most looking forward to when I got finally got PC working and I'm ready to game again, was to play Cyberpunk 2077. But now I've ran out of time. IRL is fun, and if you have any crazy strategies of just like inventing time so you can play more video games, yeah, let me know. But anyway, that's it for today's video. I gotta say, I cannot wait for Warhammer 40k. I know for a lot of people, you will have thought World War Z, you'll think zombies, overplayed, tired, I'm bored of zombies, and you roll your eyes, and I totally get that. But at the very least, take a look at the footage, and hopefully in today's video we've shown you lots of footage of just how impressive the World War Z, just mob tech is. It is really cool. And it seems like as an industry, we're finally at the technical place that the sorts of just fundamentally absurdly hard to pull off fantasies that so many different worlds have, like we can finally pull them off in-game at a high level of fidelity with gameplay that feels good. Like, that's fundamentally an impressive thing. So yes, World War Z crowd tech mixed with Tyranids, honestly, that's one of the things I'm the most excited for in gaming in the year of 2024. I cannot wait. Anyway, that's it for me for today's episode. There will be one tomorrow, and there was one yesterday because we're pretty damn busy. All right, take care. See you next time.